Hello, Victor. Thank you for taking the time out of your day, your busy schedule to chat with me. I know you're very busy with the preparations for the World Championships. You're in Japan at the moment, aren't you? Is that correct?
Yeah, and also thanks for having me on. It's an honor.
that's that's kind of surreal to hear me say that. A player so high up in the world saying something like that about me is quite cool. So you're training out in Japan. I'm assuming it's a camp for the World Championships. Will you be out there for the whole time until the Worlds, or is there? Will you be coming back to Canada?
I'm here for another week, and then I'll be training with my Asia-based coach out
Okay.
where he's based. So not the whole time, but I've been here for a couple of weeks now.
You're at NTT East, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
entities. Yeah,
Is that training with Kento Omota and all those guys? Or
yeah,
is it a
it's
different group?
it's also an honor. I mean, it's like not every session, but I've had my chances, and it's been really awesome.
That's absolutely amazing. So, we're going to get to your preparations for the World Championships. The whole purpose of this video is to kind of look at your first whirlwind year on the tour because it's been quite an amazing journey. It started last year at the World Championships, and
Yeah.
maybe it will come full circle at this year's World Championships. That's what we're all hoping. But if anyone's watching this video, this is just directing at them that doesn't know who you are. Just a little bit, so maybe they found this video by chance. I'll just quickly introduce you. Victor Lai is a 21-year-old Canadian men's singles player, currently world number 7. You're third on the World Tour rankings as well, which just goes to show how consistent you've been. You've already won a world bronze medal, which was last year, and you've reached 2 Super 1000 semifinals and won another, the Indonesia Open. That's really incredible consistency at the highest tournaments. And you've basically, like I said, you've done it on your first year on the tour, which is crazy. But first, I do want to quickly go over your early days in badminton. So, if you could quickly tell me, how did you get introduced to badminton? How did you come to play it?
Yeah, so my background is a little bit, I would say, unorthodox. Like both my parents didn't play badminton. None of my family, extended family played badminton or honestly, any sports. But as a young kid, I was pretty active. I played a lot of sports at school, summer camps, all that stuff. And badminton was just one of the many sports I did as a summer camp. And I started when I was 8, the summer or the winter after grade 2, I believe. And my parents just put me into a summer camp and I really enjoyed it. And then the coaches there at the time were like, you have some talent. I think you can be pretty good at this sport. So I just continued playing and just climbed up the ranks from provincial to national.
So it was just to start off with like like a camp thing. From there, did you like take any private lessons? Did you continue playing in other sorts of? I'm not quite sure how the setup is in Canada. Whether you have, say, in England, there's like a lot of clubs have groups where young kids can come and play, and there's like a pathway. Is there something similar in Canada? And did you go through that, or did you just play for fun?
I started at a club, Mandarin, and I'm still with them today, which is pretty neat. They
Yeah.
have the pathway is very similar. It's like you start off with group lessons with a lot of kids, and you progress through like different groups. And as you get better, you join the group above, and it's mostly group lessons, team trainings we called it, maybe three, 4 times a week. And as I started to get better and play more tournaments, I started to have a couple private lessons, maybe yeah, like one private lesson a week, I would say, and then some team training sessions.
It was mainly in a group environment, not too much reliance on a individual lesson. So
No, mainly, yeah,
no.
mainly groups. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. You mentioned that you played a few other sports. I watched an interview with you in the BWF, and they talk about golf and all these other sports that you kind of got involved with. What was it that was different about badminton? Was it just the fact that you were more successful at it compared to the others, or did you prefer it as a sport?
I'd say both. Like obviously I got pretty good at badminton very young, which is why I continue with it. Like if I started and I was not very good, then I don't think I would have had so much interest. But I also wasn't the biggest kid growing up. And I'm still not the biggest, but I had a late growth spurt. So sports like volleyball, basketball, those sports where you kind of had a height requirement was kind of off the
Mm.
table so young. And I really enjoyed golf and I still play a lot, but that's only a summer thing. Where I live in Toronto, the golf courses, you have to drive 40 minutes at least up north just to play and just probably not
Yeah,
worth it to drive that every day. And then also, it's also very expensive. So, and I
yeah,
mean, badminton, one of the things that drew me in was just the amount of things that you can do in the sport. Like in each corner, each shot, there's just so many different things you could do. And I think that really hooked me into the sport.
Yeah, it was actually similar for me. Just I don't know, I played a lot of other sports. My family were involved, unlike yours, but it was just the interest and the different layers that you could do with the sport. What at what point throughout your junior career you had quite a lot of success? You know, you became national champion under 15, a lot of success in the Pan Am tournaments, and I think I even saw you played a couple of European junior tournaments in your early
Yeah.
days. At what point did you decide that I want to be a professional badminton player? I know you're still in education, but was there a point where you're like, no, actually, I want to be a professional player?
I think in grade 11, 12. So when I was in grade 11, it was COVID time. So it was hard to do many things, but I already kind of decided that I wanted to go to university at the one closest to home, which isn't the best one. Like if we're talking strictly education, but it's the one that would allow me to train at my home club and just stay home. And I think I made that decision in late grade 11, grade 12 when people started picking their universities. And I already had come to that conclusion that I was going to go to the university I'm at right now and try to be a full-time badminton player.
Did you have any specific approach to your badminton when you were young? So you said you weren't the biggest of players. Did that shape how you approached your badminton at all?
Yeah, for sure. I was like the skinniest and the smallest kid growing up. You can ask like anyone who knew me. So never had the power. So those guys, they were guys who were like taller than the net in like when they're like 10, 11, 12. And so I guess that taught me how to use other skills to beat people through a lot of things. But I think one of the main things was just like perseverance and mental strength because when I'm that small going up against guys that big, it's already a disadvantage. So I have to fight for every point because they can take one step. I gotta take three steps. They can just
Yeah.
smash whenever they want. And I didn't have that power back then.
Yeah.
So
I actually think
yeah.
it's sometimes an advantage to be a little bit smaller. There was an English player that I trained with, Toby Penty. I'm not sure if you've heard of him,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he was very slight and very slim. He had to work very hard on his physical. And I remember seeing Anders Antonsen when he was
Mm,
12, and he was very, very small, especially in comparison to Rasmus Gemke.
yeah.
So I think that's one reason why he's tactically quite an astute player these days, because he had to think out. So I think it is quite an advantage to be a little bit on the smaller side, although at the time you probably weren't thinking of that. Obviously, when
Yeah.
you moved over from junior to senior badminton, the physical level goes up, which makes things difficult if you are a bit on the smaller side. You know, it's a difficult change. A lot of players do take time. You've done it relatively quickly, but what are your early memories of transitioning from junior to senior badminton? What were the kind of hurdles, etc., that you had to overcome?
So I turned 18 in 2022 and I started playing senior tournaments at the end of 2022 and that was rough. I just didn't have the physical capabilities compared to those bigger guys who are in their primes. And then even through 2023, 2024, I had glimpses of potential where I would play really well against decent level guys like three sets or maybe a win or two and one or two good tournaments, but mainly I was just losing. Honestly, I could say I lost almost all matches because of physical. Like I wasn't worse in any department other than physical. I would just lose because I was literally just too tired to keep playing. There were even times where I couldn't hit cross because I was physically not able to run cross. I didn't have the energy or the leg strength. So that was definitely very tough, but it taught me again from when I was younger, like how to be better tactically, how to win points, how to be smarter on court, all these things that helped me develop. And then recently, once I got a bit physically stronger, I think it all connected and it all came together really well.
So in that period, were you like, because you knew it was a physical thing, did you focus a lot of training on just getting as strong as you possibly can? I mean, obviously you would have still worked on your other skills because you can't leave
Yeah.
them alone, but was there more of a focus in those early periods to go, this is the only thing that's missing is the physical. If I get that up, then I know I can play and beat these guys.
I think I might have started to focus on it a little bit too late. Like I would say I had a good 6 months of a period where I mainly focused on physical. And after those 6 months is when I started to perform a lot better, starting at the Pan Ams in 2025. But I think just the consistency of the physical training, because I also like grew a bit later, so my muscles and my height came a little bit later. So I feel like I didn't change that much in terms of physical training. It's just that my body put on the size a little bit later than everyone
Mm.
else, which is like I can't control that.
No, no, no. Yeah,
Yeah,
no. Again, there's been people that I've coached that small and suddenly they're like gone from mid 5 foot to over 6 feet. It can come at all different uh, times. Now, obviously, you did have a breakthrough, but before, obviously, the major one was the World Championships. I think
Yeah.
that's where most you kind of got onto the thing. But was there before then? I looked through some of your results. You said already that you were struggling to win on the senior circuit, the international challenge and series and the lower world tour events. Um, was there actually a moment where things, and you talked about the physical, was there actually a match, can you remember, or a tournament specifically where you're like, finally things are starting to click. I'm in the right spot now. I'm in a position that I can really push on.
So this, I'll just explain a little backstory because in 2024, September, October-ish, I started to take physical training like a lot more seriously to the point where sometimes I would only do a gym session and not even train. Like it was that serious. It was a personal thing, but also my coaches, they felt that that was the right thing to do. So from that point, 2024, just very focused on the physical training until 2025. And I think it was the Pan Ams that was the first time I felt the the physical ability to where I could jump up and smash and I could rally and I could defend and I could change speed whenever I wanted, which is something I couldn't do before. I didn't have the physical capabilities back then to where if I saw the bird, I could jump up. I didn't have that. And even before the Pan Ams, a month before, I lost in the first round of the Portugal series. I didn't lose to a bad player, but I was pretty demoralized because I trained so hard for a couple months and then I still
Mm.
lost first round in Portugal. But I guess it was pretty good fire and I went into Pan Am's with the underdog mentality and just nothing to lose and I won that one all straight sets. So I think that gave me a lot of confidence because in the Pan Am I never had like full success until that point. And Pan Am you could say is like the starting point for us. So I think that was like a tournament where I felt that I had it.
And then that built into the Canadian Open later. Was that a little bit later in the year? It wasn't too long after, was it? The Canada Open, where you got to the final. Was that in 2025? Was that after? Or because I know that was
Yeah,
before
the
the World
Pan
Championship.
Am's
I thought the Pan Am's came, was it before or after?
no, Pan Am's was April, and then actually a couple weeks later at the Sudirman, I beat the Korean guy who was the highest
Oh,
ranked player I ever
cool.
beat. So that also added a lot of confidence. And then I had a good training block. And then at the US Open, before Canada Open, I beat two pretty good players and then almost took a set off Jonatan Chen at that time. So I had a lot of confidence going into Canada Open, where I started from the qualifying, which is looking back is crazy. I played
Yeah.
6 matches of 3 sets, I think, or something pretty crazy, which
You mentioned that in your interview how you had so many tough matches. I mean, I think that's an indication of all that physical training had paid off. And it was interesting you said about how in Portugal you were demoralized, that you lost, although after all this hard training, sometimes it does just take a little bit more time for it to click. Clearly,
yeah.
it was all there. Is that kind of mindset of yours? Obviously, you said it built that fire in you. Is that something that has always been there, and is that something you continue to use whenever you have any kind of minor setbacks?
Yeah, I think emotionally I'm pretty good. I'm able to use like the losses and the wins. I think I can use it pretty well to my advantage. A lot of times after tough losses I can bounce back pretty well or I can use the loss well. Like I can learn from it. So I think that's something I'm pretty good at.
I wanted to kind of get onto the World Championships. That's the big, I think, where most people that might be watching this video probably first really took notice of you. For me, it was the Canada Open when you got to the final, beating Naraoka, and I was like, oh wow, where's this guy come from? Because it was all up until then, it was always for Canada, it
Yeah.
was more Brian Yang, and he was the one that people look at. And then suddenly, I think you even beat Brian at that Canada Open. Is that in the
Yeah,
first
but
round?
he just made the US Open finals and he came so he might
Yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
behind. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I
Sometimes you
did.
do miss context when you're looking at some results. No, that's a good thing to note. You said that obviously physical was the big thing. So between 2024, I looked at the Canada Open, you lost in the qualifying. 2025, you were still in qualifying, but you reached the final. That's quite a jump in 12 months. And you had some good wins, like you said, at the Sudirman Cup and US Open. We spoke about the physical. Was there anything else that you think was a big attributing factor to that sort of rise in your level?
I think for me, it was confidence was the big thing. Because honestly, I didn't beat anyone in the top like 60 for a long time. And after I piled up a couple of them, like 2 or 3 in a row, that's when it really clicks. Because I think my like rise or like pathway is very different from many people. Like most people start by winning a series, winning a challenge, and then 300, 500. I kind of went
Mm.
like a challenge series semifinalist to 300 final and then to world champ. So I think it was very like it's very different. And I think the main thing is because even when I was losing in the first rounds of like series challenges back then, I felt like I had the potential. And a lot of people also kept reminding me that I felt I had a potential. It's just I was lacking the physical aspect of my game. So I think I always kept that in the back of my mind, like, oh, maybe like tactically, technically, like mentally, all these things, I wasn't too far behind everyone else. And it was the main thing was the physical. So I think once I felt I was strong enough to compete, and then I started winning a couple rounds, that's when the confidence came in together. And then that's how it
Yeah.
started, I guess. Yeah.
And obviously, you had some of this confidence going into the World Championships last year. You'd played in like Thomas Cup, Sudirman Cup, they're World Championships, but team events. This was your first individual one. Um, with that confidence you had going in, you'd beaten a few top players. What were your expectations heading into those World Championships in Paris?
I had none. It was my first one. I was just excited to play. And actually, BWF interviewed me before World Champs last year, and I remember I said if I won a couple rounds, that'd be pretty nice. That was my only expectation, honestly. Yeah,
Obviously, your first round, you played Edward Lau from New Zealand. You
yeah.
came through that, and then you had Lu Guangzhou, and it just the whole run just kept getting more and more. Was there any point like, was there a particular match where you're like, oh wow, I can go really far, actually go really far in this tournament, or it turned from your expectations being I just want to enjoy the experience to, oh, I can actually do something here. I can actually not necessarily create history, but I can actually have a very deep run at this tournament.
I think the Lu Guangzhou match because I actually lost the first set like badly. Like I was after the first set, I was like, damn, I'm not this level yet. And then after second set, I turned around. I won second and third sets pretty far too.
Mm.
And then in my quarter, I saw that Li Shifeng lost, and then I was gonna play Jin Hyuk Jin, who I beat at the Sudirman Cup. So I was like, oh, I feel like I have a chance to beat him at least and make it to the quarters. And then the quarters was either Loh Kean Yew or Kodai, and I also beat Kodai couple months
Yeah.
before. And Loh Kean Yew, unfortunately, he just got sick a month before the World Champs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he had a really bad sickness. So I was like, oh, this is like there's a chance. There's a chance. But
Mm.
obviously I didn't like think that and say that to everyone. I was just in the back of my mind like there's a chance and I just want to play my best because it's my first World Champs and I was ranked 50 in the world. So I mean, if I lose, it's what's supposed to happen.
In that match against Loh Kean Yew, obviously you made a good comeback in the first game because you were down. I think in your interview you said you kind of took the pace out. You were willing for him to make errors, which we all know that Loh can do. He can play brilliant, but he can also make
Yeah.
mistakes. In the second, though, it was kind of the other way around. You had a good lead. You obviously were a game up, and then when he started to come back at you, was there any point where you were like, and you must have had a moment where you thought, oh, bronze medal, or I'm into the medal rounds, and then he started closing up. Was there? I mean, was there any point where you started to kind of think of the situation, and did that affect you in any way?
So when you edit this, you can go back, but I think it was 1813 when I had a really good lift, like perfectly on the line. He hit it half court. I smashed it like perfectly down the line. I think it was 1913. I was like, oh shit, I have a chance. And then it was 1913 until 1819. Then at
You were kind
1819, I'm like, okay, I need to win this point or else. Because when Lowe's on a run, he's on a run. He can go
of,
like 20, he can go many points in a row, and he's so quick too. And he doesn't let you like recover. Because even when you try to play slow, he kind of speeds up the pace too. So I was like, please just let me win one point. And then those last 2 points, I mean, he made it tough. He made it tough for me to win those last 2 points.
yeah, but it must have felt absolutely incredible when you did go the line again in that interview because I was watching it again this morning. You didn't celebrate all too much because you were like, "Well, I'm still in the tournament." You, obviously, the next round you had Shi Yu Qi, the world number one. How did you approach that match? Was there a clear game plan? Was there the belief that yes, I can beat Shi Yu Qi and I can get into the world championship final, or was it again? Let's just go out there and enjoy it.
Uh, I think the first thing I thought was, oh, let's not get cooked up on court one with Jill commentating with the world watching. Let's not lose like under 10. That was the first thought. But then he's also world number one and I'm world number 50. So he has the weight, like he has so much pressure. Like I don't think anyone's ever felt the pressure he had. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, he's not gonna be able to play like crazy well just because of the pressure he
Mm.
has. And I also don't have any pressure. So I can play relaxed and he can't. All the support I got back home, all my coaches, my teammates, everyone was just sending so much encouragement and telling me to enjoy the match. World Championship semifinal against world number one. It's not going to happen many times. The
How
main
did
thing was just to enjoy and like just play my best. Yeah.
Was there a particular game plan you discussed with your coaches beforehand? Something that you felt maybe watching him Shi Yu Qi earlier in the tournament, he could definitely tell that he was feeling the nerves. I think he so badly wanted to make up for the Olympics the year before. He'd been pushed to a few 3-game matches earlier, looked a bit
Yeah.
tense. Was there anything that you were going to do to try to make life difficult for Shi Yu Qi in that match?
Well, I mean, he's one number one, so there's not really many weaknesses. But I think the main thing was just, I think if my defense could hold up, that would make him really nervous because when you're, I don't know if he's an attacking player, but with someone with such a good attack, if you can get things back, they might start to feel even more pressure along with the pressure he's already feeling.
Yeah, no, 100%. And obviously, you did have, and I don't want to bring this up because, well, I do, I have to. You had
Yeah,
two
yeah.
match points. What was going through your head in those? Because obviously, we know that you were unable to unfortunately win, but I didn't think watching that you actually played those points poorly at all. You actually went out to win them. You were just came out on the losing end. But was there anything that went through your mind throughout those points?
So the point in 1918, I played that point like perfectly, like so well. I even read his shot and it was out. So I was like, I'm feeling so confident. 2018, and I hear the chants from the crowd and my hands start shaking, feeling goosebumps, like, oh shit, I can be in the final. Actually, at 2018, I don't think I played the point wrong either. Like I think I
Mm,
controlled it very well. And if it wasn't out, he would have played a neutralizing shot, and then I would have been able to go on the
mm.
attack from that. But sadly, I was with the drift and it's out a little bit. And then 1920, I thought my spin out was really good and he
Oh,
just crushes it perfectly over the net. And I also hit it back, but it went on the tape and then it didn't
mm.
come and then it stayed on my side.
Yeah, I can remember watching that one live. And when you hit that first spin before Chi spins back, I was like, that's it. I
Yeah.
honestly was like, if that comes over, it's going to be not that tight. That's so difficult, especially with the situation. But he hit it almost perfectly. But you were there, you were jumping on it.
Yeah.
Oh, it was quite a moment.
Even at 20 all, I had one of the best deceptions you could play at 20 all, gets a short lift. I would say the smash wasn't too good, but I mean a block cross from the backhand at 20 all, down in game, that that's that's like 0.1% chance.
Like I said, those last 4 points, I think you played them. Well, personally, I thought you played them very, very well. Just Shi Chi just came out on top on all four. That must have been quite hard. How did you go out? I mean, obviously the third game, I believe you didn't get the best of starts. Were you still thinking about I've missed my chance here, or did that kind of affect you for the beginning stages of the third game?
Yeah, and also I was tired, man. I was really tired. I was tired. And also the second set I was actually with the drift. So I hit a couple of them long in
Mm,
the second set. So when I changed the third set, the drift wasn't that strong in Paris, but I was scared to lift because I felt like my feeling had kind of got lost from hitting out so many times.
mm.
Then he also started being really, really patient. And so then I was just so tired. But then I kept thinking about those 2 points, like, oh, at 1920, what if I just pushed instead of net or all these things, like all these what ifs. I mean, I'm sure there's like 1,000 that I could have thought of. I try not to
Yeah.
think about them, obviously, but it's inevitable.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to ask you, do you still run through them from time to time? Do they randomly pop into your head even today?
I would say now, like pretty rarely. I mean, especially after I won Indonesia, it's like never. But from World Champs, I would say for like a couple months, there were some nights where I would think about them a lot because
Mm,
I think you're going to go into this later, but I didn't have too much success after the Worlds, on the
yeah.
World Tour. So when I didn't have success, I was thinking back to like, oh, what if I just did this instead?
Actually, moving on from the Worlds, that's actually does lead quite nicely into a follow up question. I mean, what were things like for you after the World Championships? You must have had, well, you had so much attention on you, and because, like you said earlier, that your pathway to that point had been so different that you just suddenly, it's not like people had seen you slowly graduate come up. It was kind of this big high moment. Some people must have been thinking, oh, he's a flash. That was a one hit
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
Victor. And then, like you said, afterwards, you had a bit of a difficult time for the rest of the year. What was that whole 3 or 4 month period after the World Championships like for you?
Yeah, I mean, the support I got was pretty like nothing I ever experienced before, obviously. But even people back home, like there were some people I haven't talked to in like years. There were some people from the city, like city council members, all these people that I didn't even think would pay attention to badminton were reaching out and congratulating me. So I think that just made me feel really special, along with obviously all my friends and my club, teammates, coaches, everyone. But I did play the Hong Kong Open and the Indonesia 100 after, which looking back, I could say that I regret playing those just because I flew from Paris back home and then I flew from home to Asia. So that's your body can't handle that amount of jet
Mm.
lag at once. So those are pretty rough. After that, I went home and I had a little bit of training period. I was reserve one for French Open 750, my first one. And then I made it on the night before. So I don't know if people understand the feeling, but to make it in the night before and then to play the next day, it's not easy. It's hard to prepare.
Mm.
And I was also still adrenaline high, I would say. And then Hilo Open also lost in the first round. Again, not losing to bad players, but it's just I feel like after the Worlds, I had so much more spotlight that it was hard to focus.
After the Worlds, I mean, you've given a lot of context in terms of the travel when you went over to Hong Kong and Indonesia, and then finding out the day before. I mean, there's no preparation time, and suddenly you're like this. And with all this new expectations, and you come up so quickly, I mean, that must have been playing on your mind when you've had a few early losses.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, that must have. How did you kind of deal with all of that?
Well, honestly, I don't know. I just kind of stuck it out, I guess. I just trusted the process, I guess. I just like stick it out, tough it out, and just try to get like a win, like literally a win to where
Mm.
you kind of get your confidence back. I had four tournaments in a row and I had three first round losses. And the one I made the semis was a 300. So like you could say I only had success at 300 and the world champs, which is
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like, and then I started to get a couple like people saying, oh, he's a one hit wonder. Like I only had success at one tournament and for the next 4 months
Mm.
I was losing. And yeah, I feel those, but I think I did well myself just to keep at it and not like let it distract me. And then my coaches also like kind of grounded me and told me to forget about the worlds and you're starting from zero again. Like you're a nobody and you have to fight your way back up. Because even including the worlds, I had only been like two or three top 20 players. So it wasn't like I was an established star. I was just you could say a one tournament wonder. So coming into 2026, I just wanted to just like get a win and get my confidence back up.
Yeah, we're going to lead into 2026 because actually it's funny you say the one hit wonder. I mean, I can remember reading that I mean, a lot of players get thrown this about, and I can remember asking for people's hot takes for the 2026 year. And I was going to do a video on it, but I never ended up doing it because of other things. But one person wrote in, and I think you've disproved this guy over 100 times. He was like, Victor Lai will never make it, won't make another semi-final or something of any tournament this year on the World Tour. And you've done it like 4 or 5 times already this year. Every time I've mentioned a few breakdowns, I always say there's one guy, I can't remember what his name was, but if you're watching, Victor has definitely proved you wrong. But obviously, 2026 is like really the first full year. We're still in 2026 where you've been on the
Yeah.
world tour. So playing regularly with the
Yeah.
highest players, your ranking's high enough where you know you're in. There's no worry about last minutes. Was there anything you noticed differently about the players at the highest level that you were like, maybe you hadn't really realized beforehand?
I think just the amount of consistent small things they do just to stay at the top. Like I think the biggest thing for me was the way they prepare and the way they cool down after matches. Like obviously I'm so young, I had no experience on tour. So like my warm up and then after the game, the way I cool down is just not up to par with what they do. I mean, for example, like after the match, they finish their post game, whatever, straight into either like a bit of strength training, some biking, or like right into physiotherapy, massage, stretching, all these things, and then nutrition right away. Like they don't waste time on all these things, and I just didn't know better back then.
Mm.
Like I would just finish a game and then start talking and all these things, go out, go to have fun or something and not eat well, not like recover my body well. And these are all things that they can do that keep them at the top level. And that's the biggest
Yeah.
thing I noticed.
Was it also quite difficult? Because obviously coming from Pan Am, there are obviously a few players from that region, and it seems to be growing, which is great. But a lot of the top players come from nations where there's a big team behind them. They've been grew up in the national centre. Was that another reason as to why maybe you didn't quite have that kind of process, the cooling down? Because it strikes me like with Pan Am, you're a bit more individual in that
Yeah.
approach. Do you have a team with you or anything that can help you with that?
Well, now I'm lucky I have a like an on-site coach, I guess, but it's just a coach and no like team. So I guess, yeah, I guess you could say I just didn't know any better, but we don't really have a team, and I sometimes rely on the tournament physios, the ones that the tournament provides, and that's the best we can do for us Pan Am players, and that's one of the things that we have tougher for us. And yeah, I guess I think hopefully in the future we get like we're gonna get more support as I think as our results get better from Canada, US. A lot of players are starting to go up the ranks. Yeah.
So was it, purely did you learn that you needed to take it more professional, I guess, or from your own personal observations? Or did you have some other players or other your coach possibly going, Victor, like just look at what Cho Chien Chen's doing or
Yeah.
Shi Yu Qi, you need to do more of this.
I think it was mainly personal, just from observing and being on tour longer, just seeing more things. Because up to then, I only played like, if you count bigger tournaments, like 500 and above, I only played like three or four up to that
Mm.
point. So I didn't even know what goes on at those big tournaments. So just as each tournament, I saw more and more things and I learned. And also, Brian and Michelle, they've been on tour for a long time. They also gave me some tips. And Michelle sometimes has her own physio, so I could see that she's trying to take care of her body as well.
No, she's done a fantastic job of she's been playing on the top since
Yeah.
well, even when I can remember playing the US Canada Open and she was playing it then. So that was in what, 2010. So she's been playing on the circuit a long time at a high level. Another thing I wanted to ask about when you start playing more regularly on the world tour, the top players, we've already mentioned about how when you were going from junior to senior, it was the physical side. Playing against the top players more regularly and seeing them, was there anything else that watching them made you realize, oh, that's an area I need to develop my game in, like anything specific? Or was it just, no, I know I'm doing everything, I just need to keep building absolutely everything? Or was there one or two things in particular that really stood out to you?
The way they play at the end of the games when it's like important situations, I think that's the big thing. They just know how to handle themselves. They know how to play, and they don't ever look like phased or like super nervous. Like even though it's like 19 all or 21 all, they still look like they're capable of doing anything on court. And I think that also comes from experience, which like us young players, that I guess you could say that's the difference that we don't have from the older guys. But youth, we have like the daredevil to do it,
Mm.
I guess. So it evens out, evens out.
I want to move on to the All England because after the Worlds, it's one of the biggest tournaments. If you ask any players, kind of like a lot of players might even have it on a similar level to the World Championships. It's the oldest and most prestigious event. And on your debut there, just like you did at the Worlds, you got to the semi-finals. And again, in the world, like the World, you did have your chances in that semi-final against Lakshya Sen because he was struggling. How would you compare your World Championships with the All England? Your experiences that came from it.
Think the All England kind of more so showed my consistency on the tour because before All England, I also had pretty good success at the India Open 750. So after that, I felt pretty good about like the way I was playing heading into All England. And there was also a good training block before All England. So I felt like pretty good going in. And then I had a good first round win. But by the time I played Laksha, I was pretty physically and
Mm.
mentally pretty drained too. Obviously he was cramping, so I don't have what to say there, but I also didn't have the experience of knowing what to do in that scenario. Well, I'm young and that never really happened to me before, where my opponent is visibly cramping and slowing up the pace, but he was also playing so smart even when he was so tired. So that just made it even harder for me to decide what to do. In the end, he just kind of outlasted me.
What lessons did you learn from that match? Actually, you said it was obviously you never seen that situation before. Was there any like big lessons that you took from it that's helped you? progress further?
Yeah, I think I got a little bit phased by it. Like, I don't think anyone saw that I was, but inside I was pretty phased and I kind of changed up my play style and then I kind of slowed down the rally or expected him to make mistakes or started getting more tense, all these things that I just never experienced before. So, I mean, it's also good to learn from him, like if I'm ever in that scenario, how to play. So a lot of lessons learned there.
Would you say, I mean, you were kind of in a good position to win, similar in the worlds, so I guess you could kind of level up. Which result, I mean, you can say neither was harder to take. Which one, see the worlds you did have match points. I don't think you had match points against
No, no.
Latcher in the All England, but you know, I compare those results quite evenly, in my opinion, on terms of the tournament. And you fell very closely, having had chances. Which one of those two results is harder to take?
I think it's the world's.
The world.
Yeah.
Is that because of the match points, or is it the world's means a little bit more to you?
Yeah, both, but also Worlds I was closer. Like All England, the third set especially, I was always down like 3 or 4 points. Like I never really was knocking on the door to winning. He was always leading by 3 or 4 points. So I can't even say that I was really close to winning. He was edging me out the whole game.
I think for me, obviously, everyone stood up and took notice of you at the Worlds last year, but I think it was that All England run where lots of people realised that like you're truly legit. Like this is, you know, especially with your India Open semi-final. Did you get that feeling too? Was that kind of All England's run to the semis and your other results in India was like, okay, I'm now one of the top guys here on the world tour? Did it kind of make you feel a bit more like I'm actually part of this? You know, like we said about earlier at the Worlds, it was like a result almost out of nowhere. And then
Yeah.
the pressures of is this it for Victor? Can he actually become part of it? Was that All England? Was it after that, or was it a bit before where you're like, okay, I do belong on this at this level?
Yeah, I would say All England because in India I lost in the semifinal like 22-20 in the third set
Mm.
against the winner, against a top 10 player. So over the year, I would say I had a couple of, including Alex Lanier in the All England, like a couple of top 10 wins or almost
Mm.
wins. So I think that gave me like the self-belief that I belong like with the top guys. Yeah.
Moving on to another big one, the Indonesia Open, the Super 1000, one that you did end up winning. It's another iconic venue, quite a tricky venue to play in. I've actually had the privilege of playing there with the drift and the atmosphere and the noise. Um, but I remember thinking before that tournament, and I think a few people shared this sentiment, you might struggle with the conditions because, you know, conditions vary from place to place, but you'd seem to have done well in slightly larger. You know, the All England's a little bit bigger. The World Championships was a big arena. I don't know quite know what it was like in India, but it was cold. So I'm assuming it was a little
No, in
slower.
India there was lots of wind. In India there was
Oh,
so
really?
much.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't quite recall that torn off the top of my head. But anyway, I remember people thinking that the Astora tends to lend itself more to players that are a little bit more go out and get it. And I feel like you're more of a seen as more of a counter player, you soak up good defense and you wait for your chances. But the way that you played in the Astora, you definitely were someone that was going more on the front foot. You were trying to take the advantage much earlier in the rallies. Is that something that you'd always been capable of doing and you just were like, I know I need to play that way? Or had it been an area of your game that you were actively trying to seek out and get better at?
I mean, I feel like my defense has always been a little bit better than my offense. So back home in training, like offense has mainly been the priority in terms of training, but I wouldn't say I specifically trained for that. I guess one of the good things of being in Pan Am is that when we played those Pan Am tournaments in Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, all these places, the shuttle is also very fast. So I
Mm.
have some experience of playing with really fast shuttles. But the wind was an adaptation. But I knew it was really windy, but I didn't know how windy until I started playing.
Yeah.
But it was an adjustment for sure. And I guess people never really saw that side of me because I never really used it. I mean, I'm not gonna go all out attack at All England when the bird is like super slow. So
Yeah, yeah, no.
yeah, you have to be smart with how you choose your attack.
Yeah. You always just whenever I watched you, just like you could soak up really good pressure. You had great shuttle control and you have a very good attack, but you almost like used it more sparingly, more like at the right moment. And I just wasn't sure for me when it came to the Astora whether you'd have enough control for that to kind of like be it's not like I didn't think you could do well, but like I thought that there'd be other players that might be able to exploit that slightly. It was I did a few. I was on doing some TikTok lives, and one of them was your match against. I can't remember who was on the earlier one. No, it was a semi-final against Cho actually, which leads on nicely to what I want to talk about. And I was just really impressed with how attacking and front foot. I was really curious as to whether that was something that you'd always been able to do, or was something that you'd been developing over the last few years. So yeah, quickly, I mentioned the semi-final there. In all honesty, throughout the whole tournament, if we take that semi-final out, you won all your matches rather comfortably. Obviously, in the semi, Cho Chen, he's a fantastic player. He's just won the China Open. He's won the Indonesia Open before. Was there a factor of we've spoken about the world semi-finals? You had a good chance. The All England, another Super 1000 semi-finals. Semi-final, was it that hurdle again? Was that playing on your mind at any point? Because definitely in that match, you were up in the second, and then he came back and won it. And even in the third, I think you were letting the gap go. Was any of those thoughts of it's another big semi-final? Was that on your mind at all in just that particular match?
No, not in Indo because I would say, for example, at Worlds, like after beating Loh Kean Yew, I would say part of me was already satisfied. Like, oh, you already beat former world
Yeah.
champ, way like a big surprise. So maybe I was like content, but like obviously I wasn't, but maybe some part of me was. And then at All England, I had beaten Alex, which was a big win for me and also a big surprise. And All England, physically, I felt pretty tired. But
Mm.
in Indonesia, I had three straight set wins, and I was feeling like physically fit, mentally prepared. I felt like I had adapted to the conditions well. So going into the semis, I wasn't content at all. Like I wanted to win that one, and
Mm.
that might also be a bad thing. The fact that I wanted to win so bad that I
Yeah.
let almost two leads slip away.
Yeah. What was going through your mind after that second game, heading into the third? Were you dwelling on it at all? You're like, no, right, okay, I know that's one chance gone, but there's still a third game to come. Is that exactly how you approached that final game?
Yeah, I don't know. We need a BWF referee out here. When you show the replay, because I feel like he hit my racket. So the bird was on my side and
Oh yeah.
I brushed it and the bird hit his racket. He just left it there, which is another thing. Like, is that a fault? We gotta get, gotta get some better
Yeah.
rules here. He also just left it there. But I feel like he also swung forward because I felt his racket hit my racket, which is a
Yeah.
definite fault
That,
on his
that
end.
that would definitely be a fault. Yeah, that would be.
Like from what I felt, I don't know about the replay, but then when I asked the umpire, he said I obstructed him, which is like absolutely not the
It
case. Like I was
can't be
hitting the
true.
bird. If anything, he's obstructing me because I was the one hitting it. He just left his
Yeah.
racket there and bounced off. And then he didn't leave it there, he kind of swung at it too. Anyways, after I was like, well, I can't do anything about that. I'm obviously mad. I was up 19, whatever. And then he came back. Like I still have another game and we were both super tired, so I felt that we both had an equal chance. So I just stuck it out again.
Yeah. And what was going through your mind when he was creeping back up? Because I can remember the end of that third game. It just you had it. Well, I remember on that TikTok live when you finally hit 19. I was like, I think that's it because it was quite a big gap, and just the way it was feeling. And then I almost felt like I was regretting those words because suddenly Cho went on one of his runs and he was getting, how inspired he can be, especially if there's a crowd. I mean, what was going through your mind when those gaps were closing? I mean, I'd love to know I think most people want to know what's going through a player's head in those sorts of situations.
If I recall correctly, it was 1913,
Mm,
and I had hit a really good shot to get 19. So I was like, I'm feeling good. Like it was also 13 all, and I got 6 points in a row.
yeah, I was going to say, yeah, I can just remember just the run that you got. And I couldn't remember exactly, but I do remember when you got to that point. I remember saying, this is it. This is done. We're going to see
And then
Victor in the
he
final. And then
And
suddenly
then
things started to turn
1913,
around.
yeah, 1913, he hits a really good shot. 1914, and then he gets another point, 15-19. And at this point, when he gets 2 points, the crowd's on his side. And then I feel like his feeling just gets better and better
Mm,
when he gets more points. Because I think at 15-19 or 16-19, like I had a half court smash or a net kill, and he just like somehow gets it back perfectly, like
mm.
net roll or something. And then the next one, he has a really good net shot. And then at 17-19, I'm like, oh, damn, it's loud in here too.
It is loud, yeah.
And
Was there
I
any moment where you were like, oh no? Like, I'm not saying I played to your level, but I've been in those situations and you do, I mean, even if it's for a split second, you think, this feels like it's gonna go against me. It's a horrible feeling and it's almost one impossible to get out of. Was there anything that happened? I can't remember how I'm trying to think how the match ended now, but did I
I
mean?
was super lucky that at 18, 19, he hit one out the side because of the drift. Like the drift
Yeah,
is so strong. He just hit it to the middle. He hit a cross lip to the middle and it blew out. And I
yeah.
was so lucky. Like that was a big break because he just won 5 points in a row, and I was out of options. I was literally out of ideas because I had a couple good rallies where I set it up well, have a smash and a follow up, or a smash and a half court smash, and I just can't kill it
Mm,
because his defense is crazy when the crowd is going wild. And then at 19, no, even at 2019, like I was so nervous. I lifted the bird out like almost to the boards. If you
mm,
go back to the replay, like he had a really good spin. I lifted. I was like so nervous. My hand couldn't control like the shuttle at all. And in 1920, I was like, so he was with the drift, which is another thing. So I was like, I just gotta hope he nets and hope that when he lifts it out, it's gonna be out. I mean, when he hits the back, it's gonna be out.
yeah.
And luckily, the last point, I had a couple of net shots, and then he kind of hit a little bit of a looser net, and then I finished it off with a brush, and that relief just like set in. I just couldn't move my body. All I could do was just raise my arms because I was so relieved.
Yeah, I can imagine. What was your? I mean, obviously you said relief, but you mentioned earlier in the Worlds when you beat Loh that you didn't celebrate because you were like, the job's not done. Obviously, the job's not done in the semi-finals, but you must have felt. What was your feelings after that match, knowing that you were in the final of a Super 1000?
Yeah, that was pretty good. Like I felt like I accomplished something already. And then I played Jonathan, so the chance to play in Indo at Estora was also pretty special. I mean, I was, I think you, I think I posted that I was like, I hope I have a little bit of fans tomorrow. And then I think you commented on the post like a good luck, buddy, or something like that. Something like
Yeah.
that. Well, I was just like, I'm gonna enjoy it. And he actually home crowd has more pressure, I feel like, because looking back at all the World Tour events this year, all the men's singles home favorites have lost in their home
Mm,
event, like Thailand,
yeah.
Singapore, Indo, even like Canada, Taiwan, Taipei Open. Like, oh, it's always
Yeah.
the favorite that
It's
loses. So I was like, I feel like I have a chance. And obviously, beating Cho Chen in such a big arena and a place where he's so good and so hard to beat, that gave a lot of confidence to me too.
how did you? Well, how was the experience of the final? Did you have any support in that arena that day, or was it all 100% for Jonathan?
I feel like it's so loud that there's not like there's not a quiet moment. So I can just say that they're cheering for me too. I don't know. Yeah.
You played a great match. The first set was obviously close, and then the second you kind of ran away with it. Did it feel like that on the game? That first game when you got near the end, that it felt like a really important opening game to win, almost like it could decide the match. Just the way that maybe you got a feeling of the way Christie was playing. That okay, if I can get this first game, I know I'm confident for the second.
Yeah, I felt like I had to win because he actually chose a side and he chose a side with the drift. So he had the harder end to start and he chose that one. So I was like, oh, if he wins this harder side, it's going to be really hard for me to win the harder side. But then he also hit a lot of them out the back, a lot, like 7 or 8 of them.
Mm.
So I felt like he was maybe a little bit nervous, couldn't control his touch too well. And I was also leading most of the first set. So I felt like I obviously didn't expect second set to go like so much in my favor. Also because I was with the drift, the harder side. But I guess the pressure kind of got to him.
What was that winning feeling like? You've. I'm trying to think. You had obviously. I'm just trying to think of all your other titles that you'd had before then. Obviously, Pan Am and an international challenge.
Challenge.
There was no. You'd gone
I never had to work for it
in
enough.
terms of winning. You've gone from that to the absolute pinnacle. I mean, what was that winning feeling like? And to do it in arguably the most iconic venue in all of badminton, which is the Astora.
I think it was a little bit anticlimactic just because I was leading so much, and it was also relief because the first set was 21-19, and that kind of decided the whole match because second set I was leading a lot the whole match. But when the moment finally came, it just felt like all the years of hard work and all the tough training sessions, all these things that I've gone through, it finally paid off. And first world tour to be a Super 1000 is also it's pretty nice.
Yeah, that is that's you're starting right at the top again, mate. That's an absolute fantastic result. I want to kind of like skip a little bit ahead to now preparations for this year's World Championships because you're kind of in a completely different boat compared to last year. I will kind of circle back to the China Open a little bit because that's another Super 1000. How are your preparations for this year's World Championships going? Is there anything different to usual tournament prep? Are you trying to, I've asked this a few times, but add anything else to your game? Or is it a case of you now know what works? You've won a big tournament with it. Let's just make sure everything is just locked in 100%.
Yeah, I think it's more like polishing the stuff I have, but also I don't want to say like adding new things, but I would say making things that I don't normally do a little bit better just because in case I need to use because badminton's a lot about adapting and we don't know in India if it's going to be drifty, if it's going to be no wind, fast, slow. So I just want to have the shots in my arsenal to where I could adapt to those conditions.
No, that makes perfect sense. You're at that level now where is there anything you can elaborate on that? Is there anything you said certain things I might not do or I need to do a bit more of in certain situations? Is there anything in particular? Like, certain situations I'm just gonna throw something out there, like, I tend to lift away from this certain situation. I want to practice actually maybe holding the net when it's in this situation, or I don't know that we can think of thousands of different scenarios. Is there anything in particular that you've been heavily or more focused on in that regards?
I think one of the things I was working on is sometimes I have trouble when the wind is like super strong and I'm playing the harder side. Some of my shots tend to get a little bit like floaty or like they don't drop as fast. Um, and that's sometimes because I'm not timing it right or I'm not using my wrist enough to get the bird like sharper,
Mm,
coming downwards. Like it's too like kind of floaty. And then with the wind,
mm,
it's easy to blow out. So I guess working on those shots like at the back, maybe like those stick smashes or those drives in the front court, those pushes, like make sure I'm controlling it with my fingers instead of using my arm and letting it
mm.
blow with the wind.
Do you do anything in particular in certain drills to kind of maybe create more driftier conditions so then you get a good sense of? I mean, I've heard all sorts of stories. I can remember I purposely trained with like Kenneth Jonasson, who was the England coach when I played. We'd play without the back line, so you'd play to the doubles service line at the back, and you'd tip the shuttles fast and be all sorts of crazy things. So if you could control it and play well on that sort of court when it's normal, even if it's fast and drifty, you're going to be fine. Do you do anything like that, or is it just I know I just need to get this technique a little bit sharper, like you said, using my fingers a little bit more?
Actually, it's funny you say that game without the back because in Japan, one of their like we do that quite often where they play without the back and it focuses a lot on your touch and then your ability to move your opponent when the court is smaller and
Mm.
that's something Momota's just absolutely so good at. I don't think like the few times I've been able to train with him, I don't think I've ever felt three-quarters of the court or half the court be so big. Like even though he
Mm.
only has, for example, the box, he can still
Yeah.
make you move like crazy. And yeah, I guess I am working on that too because if the bird is very fast in India, that is a skill that is going to be very useful.
Because I can imagine if it's going to play slower, which would you prefer it to be a little slower in India, or would you like it to actually be a little bit faster? Is there any kind of conditions you like? This would suit me more.
I would say no preference.
No preference.
I
Okay.
mean, I also haven't played in a slower hall since All England. Well, I don't know. It's hard to say because at places like China and Singapore, one side is very fast and one side is very slow.
Mhm.
But the last time I played a neutral, all around slower hall was All England.
I can't imagine India being particularly. I don't think it's going to be like the All England. I think you're going to find it fast one end, and it's going to be very hot out there, isn't it, in August
Yeah.
in India. Talking of China, another great result, reaching another semi-final. But there were chances for you. You could have made the final. Looking at the draw, I guess you had like Tom. There's no weak players in the men's singles. Everyone is capable of beating everyone. But was the main priority at that tournament to do well, or were you somewhat trained through it with more of an eye on the World Championships? Because I always thought that sometimes some players, it's a month which is quite close, but it's far enough. I'm not quite sure how players are going to approach it. I was curious to know how you approached the China Open in that regard.
For me, I wouldn't say I was training through it, but I also wouldn't say I was training for it. Because between Indonesia Open and, well, I didn't play Japan, but between Indonesia and Japan was 5 weeks of break, which honestly it might be the longest in our year, if I'm not
Mm.
mistaken. But I did play Canada Open, so that was right in the middle of Indonesia and China, which kind of blunted any like full training for China Open. But it also wasn't like I was going all out the week before China and not thinking about China, thinking about world champs. Obviously, it's a Super 1000 and it's a big Super 1000 too. I was just trying to take it like one match at a time and trying to prove that I could be consistent. Because sometimes after winning a big tournament, I obviously felt it at Worlds. I didn't win, but a big tournament, you get expectations and you feel pressure, and then you start to lose your
Mm.
style a bit. But I'm pretty happy that in China, I showed that I could be consistent.
Yeah, you looked solid. I thought in China you looked calm. Even I remember in the first round you lost the first game when you to Shi Yu Qi when you had chances,
Yeah.
and then you just came back even stronger in the second and third, almost like the first hadn't happened. It was a real, I felt you showed much more of that resilience and that kind of maturity in your game. It just looked, yeah, a very polished performance. That's how it came across
Thank you. Thank you.
to me. Was there any reason why you missed Japan? I mean, I think from what I've heard or what I think I remember is, and then we're looking back at Canada. Did you get a slight injury, or was it any injury issues, or did you just skip it because you're like, I don't want to spend, I don't want to do two back-to-back tournaments or three back-to-back tournaments if you include Canada. Was there any reason why you missed the Japan Open?
I could half after playing Thailand, Singapore, Indonesia, and then Canada, and then it would be Canada, Japan, China, and then a couple weeks Worlds, and then there's a bunch of tournaments in the end of the year. Part of it was load management, but in Canada, I did have a small injury, like my knee was hurting a little bit. I don't know if you saw it. Like it's
Mm,
not I wouldn't say it's an injury, but more prevention from getting it worse. Then I did unfortunately
caution.
roll my ankle at Canada Open, so a little bit there. Yeah.
Okay. Was that in your semi-final or was it in an earlier match? I can't.
No, I actually rolled it like at 3-0 in the second round. So I played through it,
Oh, okay.
which
Is it
made
all good
me
now?
yeah,
Or is it?
now it's all good. Now
No,
it's
it's
all
all
good.
good.
Ankles, I feel like ankles usually don't take that long. Like it's a lot easier to heal. Obviously, forbidding it's like a grade 2 or grade 3 sprain. So my ankle's all good now, and then the knee just working on getting it stronger because we play so much and it's easy to get injured. So it's more of a prevention thing.
Again, looking ahead to the Worlds and with one eye on China, does that result giving you more confidence or similar heading into the World Championships? Has it had any effect on your confidence in terms of your preparations for the World Championships?
I wouldn't say it's like more confidence. I would just say it gave me the confidence that I can consistently play at a decent level at the big tournaments. I'm not like up and down where I would have like a lot of first round losses and then a champion and then a first round loss and a champion, stuff like that.
I think you're, in all honesty, at those. If you just look at those the high tournaments, you're one of the most consistent out of the men's singles. I mean, the singles is like we said, it's hard to be consistent because there's so many of you. But if you think, if we take out the Malaysia Open, which we can kind of put to one side because it was the first tournament of the year, your first full world tour, it's always going to be tricky to do well. But out of the other three, semi minimum of semi final, that's got to give you some confidence that not only can I can sustain this consistent results, but I can do it at the big tournaments, the one where the players are a little bit more focused, want to do that a little bit better. Is that the way that you feel, or have you not really thought about that?
No, I definitely thought about that, and it definitely gives me a lot of confidence that I can play well, like when it matters, or like at the big tournaments where everyone's putting a little bit more focus. Malaysia was like my first tournament above 500. Like I don't know, I don't really count French Open because I made it in the day before, so I
Yeah.
just feel like I didn't prepare for it well because I didn't even expect to play. So Malaysia was like my first actual tournament, and then I lost to Anders, who. Anders is just so tactically good. It's just really hard to win against him. So I mean, it's a good learning experience. I took what I learned, and the next week in India, I had a pretty good tournament.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. How do you, in general, feel about this year's World Championships? Obviously, last year you got the bronze, but you were an unknown. You could, like you said a few times, you played with freedom because you weren't expected. I mean, this year you're going to be seeded, and based on your 2026 results, like I've already said, you're one of the most consistent in singles players at high level. So people are going to be looking at you as probably a favorite to get amongst the medals, I'd say, or one of the people to really look out for. How does that make you feel? How do you feel about the worlds if you consider all of that?
I don't like to look at myself as one of the favorites. because I feel
That's a good
like
way. That's a good way to do it.
favorites is like one, two, and three. Anders, Kunlova, Shi Yu Qi, they're still top three in the world. Oh no,
Mm,
maybe Jonathan is now number three. So I think
yeah.
they're like the top four in the world right now based on ranking. And then you have like Alex and Crystal and all the Chinese guys, and now Toma, and then obviously the legend Chou Tianchen. But these are all guys who are capable of winning the whole thing. So I
Mm.
don't want to be putting myself in there because that just puts expectation on myself. I mean, there are expectations, and I also expect myself to play well, but I don't think it's necessary pressure. And I can't say that I'm gonna enjoy it like last year because there is definitely pressure, and I want to
You'll
do
set.
well, obviously.
Yeah.
But the mindset is always to enjoy and to play your best because you can only control how you play, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. You can control to an extent, your emotions, your feeling
Yeah,
towards the tournament, and
yeah,
you're trying to go in with like, I mean, I don't want to put any pressure on you, but I feel like you mentioned the top three or four, the favorites. But if you consider that Kunlevit's only really coming back from injury, a lot of the players, there's a few injury issues. Some people are trying to refine their form, like Lin Chunyi's only just started, I think, to really
Oh yeah,
start on form.
I
But
didn't even
looking
mention
back,
Lin Yi. I didn't,
yeah,
but I think
but
after China, you feel like
yeah,
after China, he has found somewhat his form. He kind of had
yeah,
injuries and all these things between All England and now, but he's kind of back
yeah,
now. And even all the Japanese guys who just did so well at
yeah,
Japan Open.
exactly.
So
Yeah, I mean, if the men's singles, you know, for these majors, I usually do predictions, and most events are difficult but doable. Men's singles, I feel like, is almost impossible. It's just
no,
so
it's
hard.
not.
So maybe that's one way to look at it. It's like you're not a favorite because everyone everyone could be
I
seen as a
mean, all the guys I mentioned, I'm not saying like, oh, it's a guaranteed win. Like they can
mm,
all.
yeah.
So just trying to stay like I'm not putting myself like right here, and I'm like you guys are all under me because it's definitely not. Anyone
No,
could be anyone. Yeah.
no, I think that's the best way to look at it. It's not just a diplomatic answer. That's actually the truth.
Like yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, even players outside, there's some outside the top 20 that could cause an upset, or there might even be another person that will do something that you did
yeah,
and come out
yeah.
of absolutely nowhere and like have an absolute blistering tournament. Last question about the Worlds is a bit of a fun one. The draw is set to come out. I think they're doing it in 2 days' time since we're recording. So the draw's not. It's on the 5th of August. I think is the draw. I think I
Oh,
read
it's so
somewhere.
early. Oh,
Yeah, so in a couple of days. So maybe by the time this video's out, it would be announced. So maybe we can get. So this could be quite fun. But is there anyone in the draw? We said about how strong it is that you're like, I really hope I'm not in that guy's section. Whether it's because you just find him very difficult to play or whatever. I'm not quite sure what the reason you can tell me. But is there anyone that in your mind you're like, stay away of me? You can be in the other half. To me, I don't want to be anywhere near you.
I think the old, I don't know. I think like the older guys because they have experience, and I think experience is at our level one of the biggest things.
Hmm.
So guys like, I mean, even though they might not be in like top form right now, I feel like by Worlds, these guys they know how to just raise their level at the biggest
Yeah.
tournament. So like obviously like Shi Yu Qi, Kunlevut, Anders, Jonathan, and like Chou Chen. I would say these guys have been at on the world tour for a long time and they know how to play when it matters. They know how to play at big tournaments. They know how to keep their body right for these bigger tournaments. So I would say those older guys with a lot of experience. Whoever I play, but playing those guys, I feel like it will be very hard no matter when I play them.
No. That makes perfect sense. I thought that was just quite an interesting question. So, I guess the last one about your preparation. You're currently in Japan training with NTT East for, is it another week? You said
Yeah,
1 week.
yeah, yeah.
What's your, what are you going to be doing between when you leave Japan and the World Championships beginning? What's your movements look like?
I'll be training in Macau with my Asia coach, Coach Lim, who's been following me at the Asia tournaments because my home coach is from Canada, can't make it out. So he's been my coach. I mean, he coached me in Indonesia when I won. He coached me in China too. So we've developed a pretty nice relationship.
Is it just going to be you two train together? Are you going to be part of a group, inviting any players in? Because obviously, group training is quite important.
Oh,
Uh,
also Brian's back at my club, so it's nice
okay.
to have another top guy and a sparring partner, and we can just help each other. So it's really
So
nice.
will he be joining you in Macau for this training as well? Or so it's
Yeah,
going to be
me,
you
him,
two,
and
like
then
a little
yeah,
group.
And
Oh, perfect.
then I think my coach will have a couple sparring players. I'm not exactly sure who, but he said he'll bring some guys in just to help out.
So that sounds really good. It sounds like you're going to come in. You're confident of coming in good shape, then, Victor. You must be
Yeah, yeah,
brimming with
yeah.
confidence. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to seeing you.
I think it'll
Seeing.
be a really tough tournament because there's so many guys who are there's the guys who like maybe haven't performed well recently, but you know that they can bring it when
Mm,
they need to. And there's the
every
guys
single.
who might have a lower rank right now, but they've been playing really well recently, like some of the Japanese guys at Japan
Mm.
Open, and then like for example, Toma, who people wouldn't say is like a big favorite, but he proved in China Open that he can be pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the French team in general
Yeah,
are
French
strong,
team in
aren't
general.
they?
I
I mean,
mean,
they're
like, don't forget about
three
Alex
incredible players.
and Christo. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
going to be it's going to be a really. I'm really excited to see them. I mean, men's singles is, I would say, it's my favorite discipline because it's what I played and what I know more of than the others. But it's also for me just the depth of the men's singles just makes it like crazy exciting and just so unpredictable. So, um, but you'll have my support, Victor. I'm looking forward to seeing you
Thank
play.
you. Thank
Um,
you.
just got like a couple final questions. These aren't to do with the world, just some follow ones. Looking slightly beyond the world championships. Um, I know I've already mentioned this actually. I've got only one question. So, other than making an appearance on my YouTube channel, being quite a big, what are
Yeah, that's
your?
pretty
Do you
big.
have any other big goals for your future or even your near future? Is there any like that's what they're the titles I want or the ranking I want to achieve or the players that I want to be? Is there? Do you have any big lofty goals?
I think the big one for this year is obviously the Worlds to do well, whatever that is. But also hoping the World Tour Finals, if I can qualify for that, that'd be pretty nice. And the
Mm.
longer term goal is the Olympics, but
Mm.
that's in a couple of years. And I think one of the big things I want to focus on is next year when it's 15 points and the Super
Yeah,
1000s are 11 days. I think it'll be quite an adjustment for
yeah,
everyone, but I think for me especially because sometimes when you play on back-to-back days, it's easy to just use the adrenaline and the motivation just to keep playing the next day. But when you're playing for 11 days, I don't know how the schedule is, but if you have a big win and then you don't play the next day, and
yeah,
then you play like 2 days later, you I don't know how it'll feel, but
yeah.
I mean
It's
15
gonna be
points, yeah,
yeah, it's gonna be new. I mean, that's a good thing actually. It leads into if you've got time for another 5 minutes, then
yeah,
I completely forgotten about having just talking to you about the 3 to 15. Because my
yeah.
other question was going to be because I've already asked this, that's why I skipped it. Other areas of your game you're trying to bring up. Is there anything in particular you're trying to bring up, knowing full well that the scoring system is going to be shorter? Is
Yeah.
there any changes that you're going to try to make your game to kind of, or you're like, no, I don't really need to change too much.
No, I think I definitely need to. I mean, obviously physical, it's going to be faster. I'm not sure if it's going to be full attack, but the speed of the game is definitely going to be faster. Obviously, I showed in Indonesia, I could play quicker and quicker hauls, but what if it's like all England where it's a slow shuttle, but it's still going to be quick? I don't think there's going to be like super crazy long rallies at 15 points because no one is
Mm.
willing to risk. I don't know.
Yeah,
Actually, I don't know. I'm curious. What do you think? What do you think if, for example,
I
15
the
points?
way I've said it is I can remember when they changed to the point scoring system from when you could only score on your serve to the
Yeah,
21.1 that we use now. And for the first, I mean, I remember the worlds that year. They were won by like, for example, the men's doubles was Kai and Fu because they were like ridiculous attack, and Lin Dan won the men's singles. It was all out attack pretty much, especially in the men's
yeah,
disciplines. But then over time, players because they didn't want to, defenses naturally came up because players had to get stronger to deal with that. Then it became
yeah,
this whole point of every point matters, so you don't want to lose points, and slowly it became more of the rallying game that you started to
yeah,
see.
yeah,
I think we might see a similar, like to start with, there's going to be players that go all out and try to attack and get like, because now leads are going to be even more important, aren't they? If you get 5 points up, it's way more important than up to
yeah.
15 than to 21. But I think over time, players are going to, everything's going to raise up. We might even get to a point where I don't think matches will be quite as long, but they might get close again. Depends on the stop clock situation as well.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I
Oh
think
yeah, the
players,
stop clock too. Like that was in Indonesia, that was really like so confusing. Because even
mm,
when I dove and they had to wipe the court, 25 even when I dove, it was only 25 seconds. So I literally had to sprint to my box,
mm,
wipe whatever, and sprint back in order to make
yeah,
it to serve, right? It's that's gonna be like so weird too.
Yeah, no, yeah. So that's another thing. Players are gonna have to get used to a lot more different things. Yeah, no, I think it will start off. People will be more, like you said, the game's gonna get faster and more explosive. But I think over time we'll start to see a few more longer rallies as well because defenses will match it and players won't. You can't losing points is even more important. So there's going to be this kind of balancing act between do you go for it but risk a mistake or do you play safe? And there's going to be a lot of this.
Yeah.
Um,
But to answer like your question, I think just keeping up the higher speed for longer, that's like obviously that's also a physical component, but to keep the pace of the game higher for longer, because I feel like in 15 points, if you slow down a little bit too much, people will capitalize because they don't have to worry about being tired or be on court too long because they know that if they can win the point quicker, 15 points, you could lose and you won't be tired because you lost so fast.
I think it's going to another thing that players will have to get just even more strong is the mental, the psychological side because you said about giving away runs or points up to 21 it's quite important but up to 15 there's not much space for that so
Yeah.
having that mental strength to kind of stop runs or to not allow that the focus that you're going to have yeah it's probably for a short time but it's going to be way more stressful and strainful on you. It's going to be
But curious
interesting.
to think, what do you think of 50? Like, do you think it's a good change or
I personally would rather they change 5 to 11 than 3 to 21. That's always been my thought. Not I mean I quite like 3 to 21 in all honesty. I've got used to
yeah,
it.
I think most
It
people would.
allows for comebacks. There's still this. But if you want really exciting, fast, explosive games, I think 5 to 11. I've seen that played at some super leagues in China, and it's quite fun to watch. And the Danish league also
Hmm.
uses it. I personally, one thing in terms of even if I know the scoring system is going to change, but one thing that keeps getting brought up that I think Steen Pedersen, the commentator alongside Jill,
Yeah,
has mentioned it is
yeah,
changing ends more often would be quite good because like you have like say in China you had one end was really difficult, one end was quite easier. I'm assuming
yeah,
was that how it felt? There's a lot of you win the first game, and then players lost the second game, and then you have an okay third because you change ends. It's
yeah.
just
But
changing ends almost all the time, or every half a game. So you have more of those kind of each game is played from one side of the court. What would be
I
your
mean,
thoughts on that?
well, I didn't even, I never, no one's ever brought that up to me, so I don't know.
Okay.
But like when I played, for example, when I played Toma, he won the coin toss, so he chose the harder side first because then he
The
would
good
end
side.
on the better side, and that proved the better choice because
Mm.
even though I was leading at 11, it wasn't enough to where I didn't pull it um like wide enough. And when
Yeah.
he has more points, like I don't know, not more points, but like more time on the better side because he's down and he has more chance to come back.
Yeah.
That proved like it's pretty big.
Yeah.
It's
I
kind
don't
of
think there's a
close.
I don't think there's a solution to a player with the coin toss being that important, but it might just make game. I'm saying this more from actually a spectator's point of view. Is if say at 11 you changed ends, and then at the end of the second you stayed that end and you switched again. So like it's still you're not always starting on the same side, but there's every half a game you have to.
Yeah.
So each game you have to play one on each side, so
Yeah.
that at least in these arenas where one side's clearly much you get a lot of these one-sided games, it
Yeah.
might just eliminate that a little bit because sometimes you're like, okay, I this game's only going to be interesting from the third onwards because the first two games it's too
Yeah, that happened a
one-sided.
lot in China.
Mm,
Like literally like 21-5,
mm,
21-2, 21-3, and the
yeah,
third set's like 21-19.
yeah. I mean, there's if you go across all badminton, there's quite a you can always tell the tournaments which are ending. You see a lot of those results: 21-10, 10-21, 22-20, because
Yeah.
not only have the players figured out the ends a bit more, but they also get not quite equal, but at least a go on each side. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I actually didn't think of that. Maybe they could propose that to BWF. I don't
yeah.
know. I don't know. I'm curious to see what other people would think of that though, because I feel like for 15 points, they didn't really take into consideration all the athletes. Well, at least all
Mm.
the top guys, they didn't really take into consideration their thoughts on it. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
I
No,
feel
I mean, I've seen comments. I've spoken about it, and I've seen things, and a lot of players are quite diplomatic about it. But I think there's also quite a few that have been. I've seen some examples of some that are a little bit like
yeah.
against it slash very kind of like
Yeah, I
cautious.
wouldn't say I saw many people like applaud it.
Mm,
I didn't see many people like the change to 15 points. Like
yeah,
I don't even know think if anyone liked it from the videos I've
yeah,
seen online of athletes.
yeah. No, so it'd be interesting, but unfortunately, well, I guess for those ones, it is coming into effect.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing, the 11 days, you will have. I think one good thing for singles players, if you look at it from an Olympic lens, you have to play group stages, which is the same as the Olympics. So I guess you're going
Yeah.
to have a little bit more experience of playing group stage badminton, and getting used to that kind of situation might be quite useful. See, doubles players
Yeah.
don't have that, but and I know I think there's going to be scheduled rest days and recovery days. So maybe we'll see players. If we look at your you and Laksh's All England earlier, maybe that
Yeah.
match would be even higher
Yeah.
quality because you might have had a rest day the day before, so you're not absolutely pummeled by the finals day. Because sometimes you do get
Yeah.
tournaments where one player's had an incredibly tough route and one player's been okay, and it just the final is not quite as good as it should be. So maybe
Yeah.
with some rest
That's
days, it
right.
might just help that situation.
I mean, for spectators, definitely, but I feel like for top players, there is some sort of level of like, are you able to sustain your performance through all the fatigue to the end?
Mm,
And
yeah,
that's why, I mean, like, I like to think of tennis as a good example because the guys who make it to the end, I mean, obviously right now, Carlos and Yannick, they're like the best by a lot, but they're able to sustain their physicality and their physical abilities all the way to the end. And I think that's part of badminton too. Like, if you are winning the tournament, you should also be able to use your energy in the
yeah.
best way and not just go all out first day and you know you have 2 days of rest and go all out again, you know?
I also think badminton's a big part of it, and I always love this about badminton growing up watching it from back in the day is the physical side to the sport. I don't want that to be removed. It's not like it. I mean, I think 315, if you're playing at the highest level,
It's
it's
gonna
still going
be,
to be it's
yeah,
going to be brutal. But I quite like the other side. It's not just brutal because it's so explosive, but also the endurance side of it as
yeah,
well. The combination of both is what always makes the best. The best match I
yeah,
can think of are ones that tap into both those things.
yeah, exactly.
Well, Victor, I think I've taken up enough of your time. We've answered all my questions and even some extra stuff, even some extra chatting at the end, which is good.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, just again, let me say thank you for taking the time to speak to me.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's been really fun, and I wish you nothing but the best in the rest of your preparations and at the World Championships. So good
Thank
luck,
you.
mate.
Thank you. Thanks for
You're
having me
welcome.
on. Honored again. And am I the first one?
Well, I've done like you're the first one where I've interviewed it more like an interview around a specific thing. I've spoken to. I did one video on Vittinghus, but that was more like I just wanted to know his like whole story. It wasn't really an interview. This was much more like I've got questions and there's back and forth. That one was just
Yeah.
tell me about this, tell me about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, in terms of a current player, because I also did it when he was long retired.
Yeah.
Current player on the top, you are the first. So maybe the
Oh
first of
wow.
many. We'll see.
Yeah.
But it's
Hopefully. I mean,
fun.
hopefully you can keep this kind of style with. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are excited or they would like to learn more about other guys. So if you can get other guys, for sure, it'd be really nice. But
Yeah.
it was nice to talk to you, and thanks for having me on.
You're welcome, mate. Maybe if you win, I'll have you back on. We'll do it again. We'll do a follow up. Yeah.
Yeah, but there won't be that much to talk about.
We can just have a party. That's all it'll be. But anyway, best of luck again, and I'll chat to you soon.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben.